I'm Professor Brandon Gaucher, and thank you for enrolling in the Spring 2013 Understanding Historical Change American History course online. It is my privilege to be your instructor this semester. Before we get started discussing some of the specifics of what you can expect, let's read through the course description on the syllabus. You all have this. I encourage you to read along with me as I read this to you now. This course is a survey of American history that examines how the United States was transformed from 13 rebellious colonies in 1776 to the most prosperous and powerful nation in the world by 1945. Though one may assume that history primarily consists of mundane facts and dates, this course examines the history of the United States through the lens of transformative ideas, especially with regard to race and gender, that have helped define the everyday lives of individuals in American society. This class, embarking on a broad survey of critical periods, ranging from the Revolutionary Era, the Progressive Era, and the Cold War, seeks to develop your ability to think critically about the significance and meaning of historical change in the United States. To create an appreciation for the complexity of historical subjectivity, we will also pay close attention to the personal stories of those who experienced periods of dramatic change. So I said quite a few different things there. Now, first, I mentioned the importance of transformative ideas. What is it I'm talking about? I think if we're going to speak about mass transformations in American society and the decisions that leaders make and how they affect ordinary individuals, we have to start with where those decisions come from: ideas. Individuals or small groups of individuals also often have that idea about what would be right for the country. And those ideas have oftentimes in history blossomed and come in to manifest themselves in reality and affect the lives of hundreds of millions of people. So whether we're speaking about the American Revolution or the Cold War, ideas and ideologies, how we view the world and our ideas that we apply to given moments, are also critical and important to understanding the meaning of historical change over time. Now, I also mentioned the importance of personal stories. If there's one thing that's really important to me about studying and speaking about history, it's the recognition that we're talking about real people, people who actually lived. If we're talking about Andrew Jackson or Susan B. Anthony, I think it behooves us to realize that these aren't people made up in novels. They aren't from movies. These are real people who lived and loved and died. And I think when we look at macroeconomic transformations or huge shifts in society, we must never lose sight of the fact that we're talking about hundreds of millions of individuals. And looking at their personal stories and how they experience those moments of dramatic change is a critical task for us. Now, I mentioned the complexity of historical subjectivity. What did I mean by that? Well, we're going to speak about ideas and we're going to speak about how individuals experience change. We have to look at their historical subjectivity. Now, what I mean by that is that each and every one of us has a subjective consciousness, meaning I'm sitting here talking to this camera, and you're sitting here watching it. But we have a cognizance, a consciousness that enables us to take in everything going on around the world. And so when we look at historical events and historical problems, never forget that every individual interprets those moments through their own subjective consciousness. So if I'm talking about the complexity of historical subjectivity, it's looking at how things are oftentimes a lot more complex than wrong and right, good and bad. If we look at the American Revolution, for example, sure, we can speak about the rationalizations that led the founders of this country to separate from Britain, and the rationalizations that inspired millions of ordinary individuals to participate in that rebellion. How did Britain view it? How did opposing leaders across the Atlantic Ocean interpret those events? So when we speak about historical subjectivity, we're speaking about the need to look broadly at the ideas and individuals that interpret those events in American history. So, why do we study history? Why is this important? Again, why am I talking and why are you listening right now? For me, as a historian, we study history to hope to better understand the complexity of the past, to hopefully approach the present a little more carefully, with a little more caution and sobriety. If so many events in American history, not all, but many, many events, are so far from being simple, and often so disturbingly complex, why is the present so simple? Why does everyone have it figured out now? The reality is that history may not offer us a neat list of lessons that apply to the present, but we can come away with a far greater appreciation for the complexity of our everyday lives. Now, what are my goals for the course? I hope for an exciting and productive semester. I look forward to teaching you very much. I hope everyone improves their writing skills. I hope that you all meet your own individual academic aspirations throughout the semester. I see it as my goal and my own personal purpose as your professor to help you meet those academic aspirations. Thank you for listening to this video, and I look forward to being your professor throughout the semester.